thank you all so much for coming out. Super excited for you to see a documentary called Punch 9 for Harold Washington. Let's give him a little round of applause. Yeah. By a quick show of hands, be honest, who knew of Harold Washington before this? Okay, hands down. I just wanted to welcome you. My name is Kevin Johnson. I was mayor of Sacramento, and prior to that, I played in the NBA, and we used to battle the Lakers over here at it used to be called the Staples Center, now it's called Crypto.com, so don't be mad at me. I run into people, they're like, I don't like you still. But now we have a restaurant called Fixins Kitchen.
We just saw Punch 9. Can
Right.
you tell me how Mr. Harold Washington influenced you on your film, on your campaign and in your political
Well,
career?
there's no question that he cast a long shadow, and elected officials of my generation throughout the nation benefited from what he had to offer, the example that he set, the sacrifice that he made.
Thank you all for being here. Harold Washington is very special to our family. He to Chicago. He would have been president, I think. And so this is one facet of his story, and it just shows you how badass of a man he actually was. So we loved him. We went to see him Lion State and all that. You know what I mean? So without further ado, thank you and enjoy.
Talked about the connection between Tom Bradley and Mayor Harold Washington.
Yes.
We know that they said something was missing. What do you think it takes, or what do you see that we should be overcoming today?
Well, the pernicious nature of racism is what the battle still has to be about in many respects. Race is the fundamental contradiction in American society, and I believe that most profoundly. And if we can overcome in that regard.
Can you tell me, how did you feel about the film?
Well, I was inspired, exciting, certainly laid out the story that I understood much better. He was such a real people person, and he led by example. He was an inspiring figure, not just as a black elected official, but as an elected official, determined and persistent in providing resources for the people.
Would you like to add to that?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I wouldn't be here standing here as a state senator if it wasn't for Harold Washington. And it was at his political run for mayor that inspired many of us across the nation to get involved locally and in our community, so much so that it led me to run for city council in my city in 1988. Though I wasn't successful, I continued at it, and Harold Washington was not only a role model but an inspiration, but truly taught us how to lead and speak truth to power. So he lives on today, and all of us, both Councilman Price, myself, and so many African Americans who have been elected since, as it clearly stated, he was a clear path for Barack Obama. So he would not have been the senator from that state, nor the U.S. Senate or senator, if it wasn't for what Harold Washington had done before.
An inspiring example of what's possible in his show.
What did you think Harold Washington, and what message or what was the inspiration do you think he leaves with his legacy?
Being tenacious, not giving up, being willing to go against, all odds. Again, he didn't have the majority when he got elected, and as we see now in Congress, as we see when you don't have the majority, how hard it is to get something passed, get legislation passed. But he was successful in his first term because he knew how to work across the aisles, but most importantly, to touch the voters who really make the decisions.
But it was true that he believed in coalition politics, and he made sure that his leadership was inclusive. And he was unapologetically black, which was refreshing and exciting to hear. He never backed away from his blackness, but he also wanted to make sure that he had a kind of administration that was inclusive, that made people feel involved, that made folks feel that they had a role to play, and that they could be a part of the process.
What the black politician means today. What do you guys think far as your role in politics and having the black politicians' responsibility to the black community?
That responsibility hasn't changed. I mean, but it requires us to be just as forthright and persistent as Mr. Washington is. I mean, it's not easier. So, and even though there are probably more of us elected today, the challenges are just as large and obstacles are just as big, but it requires us to continue to speak truth to power and as Councilman stated, be unapologetic about the things that we have to do to represent not only our people, but all coalitions, regardless of where you're elected.
In fact, in our area, very few of us have districts that are predominantly African American. Mine is 80% Latino, for example. But it demonstrates the importance of being able to reach across ethnic, cultural lines to be a representative of all the people. And that was really the spirit and the message that we learned from Harold Washington.
One more